welcome back to Big Bike BMX. It's your friend Isaac, and I'm here with Craig today. Craig,
Yo,
what's up,
what's
dude?
up? What's up? What's up?
I'm excited to be here, man. We got a pretty cool episode coming up right now.
Yeah, dude. Been waiting on this for a while. Obviously, we got some excitement about to happen, and I can't wait to get into this. So why don't you take us to that part? And
Yeah, I mean, dude, you and I have been talking about, like, I've wanted to get this guest specifically, like, we have two guests, but I've been really wanting to get this particular guest on the show for a long time. I've been like, bro, you got to make this happen. And like he's famous in the bike life community, probably like none other, for his generosity, his love for bikes, his love for anyone that rides a bike. Friends, I'm excited to introduce you to your best friend that you haven't met yet, unless you live in Stockton, California. We've got Mr. SE Racing, Damon Dayton. What's up, Damon?
What's going on? How you guys doing? A pleasure to be here. Couldn't be any more happier. I've been talking about being on this show for a while, and I've been, putting everything forward to make it happen. And thank God that we were able to pull it together today and make it happen.
Man, we are stoked that you're here, dude. And just who you got with you? You have Brad from Bumpboxx, because we have some pretty cool news we're going to announce today. So, Brad, what's up, man? How are you doing today?
Great, guys. How are you?
We're having fun, man.
Good.
We're excited. We're excited. We've seen a lot of talk about Bumpboxx going on. We had an unboxing on our channel recently. So there's a lot of hype around this. So we're pretty excited to have both of you here today to talk about Bumpboxx, talk about music, talk about Damon, and just have a good time. So Damon, I grew up in Stockton. And so this is probably the biggest testament I can give to you. When I was riding as a kid, there were like 5 dudes that rode total that were out riding. How many people do you normally have on a Sunday ride out that you're doing now?
The average nowadays is around 150 people.
That is incredible. I can't fathom that. I mean, I remember going to the Stockton Fairground BMX track, and there wouldn't be 150 people racing on a Friday.
Yeah, I know, it's sad, and I wish that track was still here just so we could enjoy it the way you guys used to. I never got a chance to endure at it. I wish I could have.
It's
what's
amazing.
a trip is, Damon, so when typically you said, you get about 150 people. You just had a birthday ride out a couple weekends ago, and you were probably pushing around, 300 out there?
Yeah, we had a close to that, I would imagine. We didn't really get a good accurate count that day. And I think it was due to the reason there was just so many people.
Yeah, for sure, man. If you guys don't know, the Stockton rideouts are happening on Sundays. They meet up out there. It's growing. It's people getting out. They're having fun. It's a family, man. That Damon has created, and you know this, Isaac. I've said it before. Damon's really created a bike life family, if you want to call it that. Everybody's welcome. Damon always makes sure to say what's up to everybody. I remember my first time going out there, dude, and it was a little bit exciting, and it was a little overwhelming because I didn't know anyone, but everyone on that Port City Willie crew, make sure that you get treated just like one of them from like the get-go, so big props to you, and shout out Damon for making that scene out there so dope and so welcoming.
Thank you very much. I really couldn't do it without the help of all the people that are involved. I've been very lucky to be circled around good people, and with good people comes good things. And we've been able to put ourselves there for the kids and worry about ourselves at the same time as adults. And, like I said, without the help of multiple different people here in the little community that we built, I'd be back at zero doing the same thing I was doing, thinking about wanting to do what we're doing now. But I definitely couldn't have did it without, all the help of all my immediate people. And I've been really lucky to run into each and every kid that we've ran into, each and every adult that we ran into. And that being said, I think like the most important thing is these kids were pretty much at need or at risk of anything bad happening to them at any point when I met almost each and every one of them. And they became, you know, a few of them became adults since they've been around. So I've been around them for 4, 5, 6 years and watched them change into good little young men. And I really feel like if there was anything that I would have wanted back in the day, it would have been any kid that come around to turn into a good person. And I've been very fortunate with that, and I've been very lucky to, you know, have good people around me. So that being said, I just want to thank all my immediate people that are there for me, all our regular sponsors that help our little Port City Willie crew that have pushed us to where we're at now today. And, you know, I couldn't thank everybody enough. And the podcast is just an enhancement to this whole thing. And I want to say thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah,
And
definitely, man.
We're lucky.
We're definitely lucky. I was just going to say, Isaac, you know, if you ever get a chance, or anybody ever gets a chance to go out there, we were talking last night, we did a podcast stream, and we were talking about Port City and riding out in Stockton, and actually going out on ride outs in general, the family atmosphere. And you just mentioned it, like, if you're on a ride out, your bike breaks, you get a flat, something happens. The whole thing out on these ride outs, especially with Damon and his crew, is nobody gets left behind. There's nobody who's stuck back with a flat tire that someone doesn't pull around and help them out, whether with tools, bike, flat, you know, tire kit, tubes, whatever the issue is, nobody's getting left behind. That's a huge testament to Damon and everybody that he's brought up in his crew. They all make sure that everyone's taken care of. And it's such a good feeling to be out there with folks like that. So huge shout out to you, Damon.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Damon, so one of the things I think is you know, like, one of the things that I hear, like, not really complaints, but criticisms of when people think of bike life and ride outs is, you know, swerving cars, acting up a lot, like a big group of people on bikes. But honestly, like, I tune into your live Instagrams on Sundays, and I see you stepping up and kind of, I don't want, like, wrangling's the wrong word, but just influencing kids like, hey, stay to the right, don't swerve, no cars. One of my favorite ones was like, you literally stopped a ride out because people were starting to spread out too far. You're like, the pack is getting too spread out. So you rode up to the front and you're just like, everybody stop, and we got to wait for everyone else to show up. And you command that respect from these riders, and they listen to you. So first of all, thank you for that. Thank you for showing these ride outs in a positive light.
Most definitely.
But what advice would you give someone like myself, like in Phoenix, where we don't have that volume of riders? What would you do? What would you tell me or tell our listeners? Like, how can they build a scene around riding like you've done in Stockton, California?
Well, at first, I think you're going to run into problems with the law, because that's what happened to us. And every week we went out, and I'm like, we're the same crew that you guys spoke to last week. And you got the same call that you got last week. And finally, when I'm not going to say I got the law enforcement on my side, but once I finally showed them that we were literally riding our bike, okay, and we weren't doing anything crazy, we weren't going bizarre, we weren't kicking cars, we weren't doing things that outlashes and makes us look bad. None of us ever did. And all the phone calls I got was there was bicyclists in the street, hundreds. And it's like, yeah, there's bicyclists in the street, but what did they complain that we did anything wrong? No. And once they realized that, hey, I kind of cornered them one day. I said, well, look at your calls. Does any of them say that we did anything wrong? And the one officer looked at me and he goes, I was just looking at that. And he looked at the sergeant and he goes, it's just complaints if they were in the street. And I said, sir, that being said, where are we supposed to ride? On the sidewalk or in the street? He said, you're to ride in the street. And I said, and we're to obey all traffic laws. He's all, yes. And I said, well, that's what we're doing. And we can't go 45. We do 10 miles an hour, 12 miles an hour. We're in and out of your way in about 2 or 3 minutes. If we go through an intersection, we have polite people working the intersection, waving gracefully, considerately, and I mean, we're doing everything pretty much right. And yeah, we have been through an intersection where the light has turned red and our crew has held the traffic and nobody was mad. And if we ever have anybody mad in the traffic, we just let them go. We stop the ride, but we're just trying to get out of the way quickly. And once they realized that we were really doing the right thing and we're just getting the community together. And it was one day we were at the skate park and they rolled up on us like 8 of them and they came up in the lawn and all over and they're looking at us like we did something wrong. And I was like, just about 10 different families out here having a family ride out. And this is typically what we do every Sunday. They all look at each other like, why are we over here harassing this family? And I put it to them like, hey, we're out here with our kids. We're trying to do the right thing. We rode to the skate park. You know what I mean? Like, we're at the park. We're enjoying ourselves. We're not doing nothing wrong. Nobody's doing anything illegal. We're legitimate human beings. And once they noticed that, I mean, things started to fall into place. So the first and foremost thing that I could recommend, sorry I got a little bit off course there, but I wanted to make a factor there that you might have problems with the law, and whoever's going to be dealing with the law, it needs to be one person. You don't need to have a bunch of people go up there and get in their face. You don't need to have a bunch of kids in the background looking over your shoulder. You need to have control of all that. So prior to the ride out, what I do is I have a group meeting with the whole ride. I have everybody turn off all the Bumpboxxes, shut down every radio music, and pull everybody into one pile. I get everybody full attention. I stand up on something large in front of everybody. I look ridiculous sometimes. I'm up there with my freaking GoPro on my head, my helmet on. I got my elbow pads. I'm up there laying down the law. And like, I don't know if they're hearing me, but sometimes I feel like they listen. And the important thing is I go up there and I tell them, hey, there's no swerving. We're not going to harass the law. If we're in the way of traffic, we need to get out of the way of traffic. If there's a double lane road and we're in the road, we need to stay to the right lane. We have to stay to the right. And I need all the adults in the crowd to be an adult on the ride and control the traffic and stay to the right. I can't do it by myself. I clearly need help. And I got a lot of people out here with their kids. If you care about your kids like I care about my kids, let's do this as a group effort. And typically when I say that, people really feel me and they realize that, hey, safety is first. We do want to be jackasses and go ride our bikes and jump over the curbs and do wheelies and show off and have fun, but we need to do it legit. I mean, and that's what's important. You have to have somebody that can control the ride, that's going to shut down the kids, that can shut down the adults, and can talk to everybody with trust, love, and caring and charisma. I mean, you have to be lightweight. You have to be charming when you're trying to keep people on your team. So you have to stay charming the whole time, and you can't get weak. You can't let them see you sweat. You got to just stay forward and stick to your guns and know that at the end of the day, you're going to have to talk to the law, or you're either going to have a really nice ride out and things are going to go sweet, or you're going to have problems and you're going to be the bad guy. And if you want to be the bad guy, then continue to do that. But where I'm from and what we're doing, I've been 100% putting all effort out to make it legit. And I talk to every officer randomly. I'm like, hey, we're just doing this and we're not doing nothing wrong. And it's a community thing. And look around, the bikes are all different colors. The people are all different colors. We're all doing the same thing. We're out on our bikes. And it's been really weird with the COVID. They're worried about the groups. They're worried about the people being close to each other. And, you know, I understand that. And we all need to protect ourselves. And I'm not out there running around trying to catch COVID. I'm going out there to have a good time and smile. You know, I'm sponsored by SE. I'm sponsored by Broke Boys. I've got Ride Out Supply working with me. I got 80s BMX Craig working side and side with me. I got Matt Rickard side by side with me. I got Jacob Santos with me side by side. I'm working direct with Bumpboxx. And I got a lot of good people standing there cheering me on. And the last thing I want to do is let one of them down. So I got to keep it real to the game and be neat.
Yeah, let me tell you, Isaac, and it's no joke because what Damon's been doing, especially like the last one I was on 2 weeks ago, I believe. I didn't go last Sunday, but the efforts that he's making, you know, Damon, telling everyone state of the right and all this stuff. It's not merely a suggestion. The people on the right out are listening. We were, like he said, if we're in a 2-lane road, people were staying to the right. Do people drift a little bit? Yeah. But then again, you got dudes coming up on bikes telling people stay to the right. They're posting up. They're actually stopping and making sure that, and waving arms like get over, get over, get over. And they're listening, and it works. You know, we're not, and I'm sure, just to echo what Damon said, it's not trying to cause issues or problems for the community or the police department or whoever else, right? It's a bike gathering. It's a family occasion. And we're all trying to get out and enjoy what we like to do together as a family. And people are really taking notice. They're listening to Damon. When that one ride out, we got to a point where it was like not happening. Things weren't like really gelling well. So you, like Isaac mentioned, you stopped the ride, gathered everyone in the parking lot in that fenced in area and said, listen, here's how we're doing this. I'm not seeing, you know, I told you guys this, but I really want to see this. And if we're going to continue forward today, this is what it's got to be. Is everybody, you know, are you guys listening? And everyone's like, yep. Boom. We got back on the ride and things were pretty copacetic and smooth from there on out. So, I mean, it works. People do get annoyed. The community or people in cars, they may have to wait through a light. Okay. What's 2 minutes out of your time, right? We get it. You got somewhere to be. We all got somewhere to be. But as soon as that 2 minute passes and the last person goes by, we're out of there, you know? So yeah, it's definitely working, dude.
I can tell you this, there's a lot worse things that a group of 300 kids in Stockton, California can do besides riding a bicycle. So, and that's every major big city across the United States. There's a lot worse you can do than be out having a community ride with your friends, staying out of trouble. All you really want to do is ride your bike. So, you know, if you see, and this is mostly directed to the folks that are like anti-ride out or, you know, that are like, oh, these kids are this, these kids are that. Before you label a group of riders, take a look at really what they're doing. And my challenge to you is look back, man. I remember being 14, 15 years old. I mean, we couldn't get, like, we get kicked out of Weberstown and Sherwood Mall every weekend. And it was like just 4 of us because it was like, yeah, you can't ride flatland here. You know, so we go over to Lincoln Center and like, oh, you get kicked out of there too. So like, we just ride up the Miracle Mile and like you get in trouble over there too. And it was just 5 kids. And so, you know, remember what it was like being a kid and being harassed for everywhere you go. And all these kids are trying to do is just ride their bikes. Yes, the swerving is dangerous. Yes, the swerving, in my opinion, needs to stop because someone's going to get hurt. You can't swerve a car.
It's not allowed on the ride outs.
It's not like you're gonna get hurt. Stop swerving on ride outs. But you know, there's other ways, and this is, and for the kids, and I say kids because I'm old and everyone's a kid to me. It's not a derogatory term, I promise you. But what I mean is, like, if you're out there, there's other ways to showcase how good you are on a bike besides swerving. There's a lot of ways you can show off and flex how much bike control you have. I would bring up, look up Matt Rickard's Instagram. He's another SE rider, another good friend of Damon's. Look at the bike control that man has and how he shows it off. It's not by going out and swerving cars. That guy will stop a wheelie and then hop a couple times and then ride again. Look at what Damon's doing when Damon's out there riding and the way that he's showcasing his skills and how smooth those wheelies are. That's how you want to flex. Show that. You don't need to swerve something to show that you're a really great rider. That's just me being preachy to kids. And I just want you to realize that, like, I need you around because I need someone to ride with. And so swerving and things like that is just, it's not where it's at now.
Well, I want to see swerving. I just don't want to see swerving cars in oncoming traffic. You can swerve. I definitely like to watch wheelies and swerving and combos and all the tricks and stuff, but you got to stay in your lane and you got to do it with common sense. Nobody wants to see anybody get hit.
Isaac stole the word out of my mouth. I was going to say, you want to see a professional swerve? Watch Matt Rickard.
Dude,
Matt Rickard
totally.
is a professional at swerving, and he doesn't have to swerve a car It's nothing. He can swerve an open piece of land and impress you way more than any kid can impress you by swerving a car.
Yep. The man looks like he's on a Tron bike when he swerves.
There's clearly two different levels of swerving. There's a, you know, the not recommended way and then a professional way. And Matt Rickard sets the all boundaries on that. I give him that, like 100%. Hands down.
And so that kind of leads me into like the next thing too about these ride outs and an aspect that I'm super psyched about, and that's adding music to these events. Because I'm going to be honest, like I've seen me watching the evolution of ride outs has been something pretty special. I started riding my bike to work, and literally I have my phone on my handlebar, and that's the music that I would listen to. And then I would see some people with those little, you know, like soda can Bluetooth speakers, right? And you're like, okay, that's cool. But it's another accessory on your bike. It's messing with the weight of your bike. And it's not necessarily secured the best way. Like it's zip tied, or it's like I've seen duct tape. I've just seen some pretty shady ways to attach a speaker to a bike watching these ride outs. But music was such a big part when I was growing up, man. I remember taking my boombox, and here's the issues I ran into. First of all, I was raised by a single mother who had one job, and so for me to get batteries was a blessing. It was that was a big deal to get D-size batteries.
That was one of my key things, bro. I was just gonna say, you know how much money we didn't get to spend on drinks and candy and stuff that we wanted because we were buying freaking batteries, the most expensive D-size. You needed 8 of them. I mean, come on, bro. And they came in a pack of 5, so you had to buy 2 packs. You know what I mean?
You're preaching to the choir. Okay, so like, look at my shoulders. Like, I got these shoulders honestly because I was at 14, at 12, 13. I'm carrying a boombox that weighed as much as I did, and I'm hanging it on my handlebar, trying to ride all crooked, right, to get to where I was in my flatland spot, you know. And then you ride for a couple hours, and then you're bone tired, and I had to ride home doing this again. And dude, like, you couldn't help but get yoked, like as a kid, right? Like we were all yoked.
Yeah, the right side of your body.
Right, 100%. And so like, growing up, man, Craig, my question to you, like, what was the music you used to listen to when you were riding as a kid? Like what tape, and this is dating me right here, what tape did you listen to the most when you were riding?
Check this out. It just actually depended on what year you asked me this question, bro. I used to have mixtapes. I would record stuff off the radio. You know, there was no MP3s or streaming and shit like that. So you would record, you know, I used to wait right there till the DJ said, okay, coming up, we've got, you know, AC/DC, Black and Black. I'd hit record and record that song. Yeah. And then hit pause, wait for the next one. I just wanted something to really get hyped to. I wanted to rock out. I wanted something fast and loud, or, you know, back through some gangster hardcore rap to heavy metal, just something to really get stoked on. And it was like you said, you know, you took the box out there and you rode for miles in whatever spot you were going to. And I did it with skateboarding too. It just always set the tone of getting super stoked out there and getting yourself hyped up to do stuff. So yeah, man, I really didn't have like a go-to jam, but my mixtapes were fire, bro. Let me tell you. If I could find those things, dude.
Damon, what was your go-to? Like where you grew up, what was the go-to? What did you listen to the most when you were growing up?
Man, I listened to a lot of Run DMC, a lot of Beastie Boys, and a lot of the old school Fat Boys. I had a lot of those tapes. Those were, you know, like I said, I was the youngest of 4 boys. So I got like what was left over at the end of everything. And it seemed like it was something they didn't want to listen to. And I just got that and enjoyed it. Loved it.
Dude, I'm about to blow your mind. Remember Roxanne?
Yeah, totally.
Oh, right. Brad, what was your jam when you were growing up? What did you ride to?
I'm pretty diehard Beasties. I like the Run DMC. I like old gangster rap. I like Snoop. I like them all. I like old rap. I'm not into so much the new stuff. I respect it, but I like the old school stuff.
Dude, I'm an old man, dude, so I don't know who the new stuff is. So you're fine. You're fine.
All
I'm gonna
the,
tell.
what I listen to nowadays is country rap.
Yeah.
Why not? Right?
Dang.
A lot of my friends call it crap, and I'm like, yeah, it's country rap.
Makes sense. It makes sense. I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you the. So I'm a like here. We're gonna go through down memory lane. I'm gonna remind you guys of a bunch of stuff that you might have forgot about. So
Go for it.
here's where okay. So like everybody else, Beastie Boys that came out when I was 14. The album came out like when I like right before my 14th birthday. I remember I got that tape, and like figuring all that stuff out and like listening to the Beastie Boys. I learned all kinds of good vocabulary from the Beastie Boys. Then we had like obviously LL Cool J, Radio, right?
Mhm.
That was a great album. And then he came out with that, the one was it I'm Bad.
Yep.
That was another one he came out with. Obviously Run DMC, Raising Hell. That was a big one. And then that was what I would listen to. Then we had like Too Short was also coming up in the Bay Area. So Too Short, like you get a mixtape from Too Short. Shout out to Too Short. Because when he talked about selling tapes out of the back of a car, true story, that's what he's doing. Because you get like a fourth generation copy of like a Too Short mixtape, and you're like, oh man, you gotta check this out. Then you had Two Live Crew.
Awesome.
Remember, you had Two Live Crew. You had to hide that from your parents because you get in trouble if you had that one.
Do you know who B-Dank is?
Yeah.
So B-Dank came over to the shop the other day, and I got the bus pulled in forward in my shop, and I got the back door wide open on the bus, and I got the Bumpboxx Uprock posted up in the back, and it's the graffiti model, so it looks like it takes up a lot of room. It's just real busy, right? And B-Dank walks in, and I got the music blasting, and he's all, hey, what's going on, Too Short? And I said, what? And I turned the music down, and he's all, what's up, Too Short? And I looked at him, I was like, I might be the tallest dude you know, bro, and you're calling me Too Short, right? I was like, this is what's transferring through my head. I'm like, and I thought to myself, why is he calling me Too Short, right? And he's all, yeah, bro, because you're selling those bump boxes right out of the back of your bus like Too Short was selling records.
If you grew up in the Bay Area, you know exactly what we're talking about. Cause like those stories 100% true. Like when you hear about Too Short.
Yeah, definitely.
And so then I had my other friends, like my good friend Ron Griffith. He was my rocker friend. And so that dude introduced me. At the time I hated it because I was like, man, I want to listen to rap music. And he was like, he'd compromise and he'd break out some Anthrax. And so you're like, all right, you know, like dun 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 dun, nah, dun dun, you know, like you remember those. He introduced me to Anthrax, Metallica, Slayer, Megadeth, all of that, like not makeup metal, but like true metal. And so like, yeah, so you could like totally get into it and like love that man because he broadened my musical, like what I appreciate now as an older guy. I don't think I would have appreciated it growing up without that. Then my other ones I'm going to break out, and maybe you guys remember these. Suicidal Tendencies was a big one.
Dead Kennedys.
Yeah.
Dead Kennedys. Agent Orange. Remember that, dude? That was like the jam. And then that Cult, it was the Cult, Firewoman or whatever. I think it was like Firewoman. I don't remember the name of the album, but man, somebody had a Cult tape. And dude, we used to listen to that at my buddy's. There was a half pipe out in Elk Grove, and I would ride my bike from Lodi all the way up Lower Sacramento Road to get to Galt. And then we'd ride from Galt up to Elk Grove to this dude's like farmhouse. And then we would ride his half pipe. And then every once in a while you'd find like you have one buddy that had a mini truck and you could fit your bikes in a kicker in there. And we go out to Rancho Seco and we jump our bikes thinking like we were Eddie Fiola and Arlo Osborne. We'd jump our bikes into the Rancho Seco like lake that was out there.
Yeah, in the river.
Yeah.
Or the riverbed or whatever, yeah.
Dude,
Absolutely.
I'm gonna throw this out there right now, and you guys didn't bring this up, but one of my fondest memories from back in the day with a boombox, and you guys being from the Bay Area may or may not have been in this, and you guys, some of the other listeners may laugh, but bro, we used to have like breakdance crews. We would have
cardboard
with a cardboard box. We'd flatten the box, set
spinning
up
on
that.
their head.
You want to talk about the, Roxanne and Herbie Hancock playing, all those like beatbox jams, we would have breakdancing. We'd be zipped up in track suits.
Flight suits. They
Bro,
were called flight suits.
Yeah, some dudes had the names of their crew on the back that they got put on with an iron or at a t-shirt shop. And bro, it was serious, man. There was people out there just dancing and pop locking and all that stuff.
That was awesome.
But you had to bring the boombox, whether it had the lights on it that lit up with the beat, or a double cassette deck, just detachable speakers. Like that was the shit back then.
You know what my first vision was of the boombox? Crush Groove.
Oh yes, dude. Yes.
Bro, I watched that movie and I immediately went out and started looking, and my mom would sell at the flea markets. My mom was like an antique collector, and she'd sell at the flea markets. And I'd go out to the flea market and I'd wait and I'd find the one that I wanted. And if it got broke, I'd go out there and I'd get another one. I went through several of them because my mom was always at the flea market. I'd upgrade. I'd give one to my buddy. I'd find a better one. But Crush Groove really set the image for me. When I seen that big ass huge one that they were all breakdancing to, all I could think about was the next biggest one than the one I got right now. And I'm telling you, man, they had the brand new ones, right? And like they were like the China brand or whatever, I'm sure they were all made in China, but there was like the flea market brand, right? And my mom would always be like, look at that one's only $30. And I'd be like, no, that'll never work. I'd rather find one missing a cord.
I remember going, man, there's a store that it was in Stockton. It was over by Lincoln Center. And oh man, it was like there's a Mervin's that's like gone now, but like right next to that place, it was like the Best Buy of the 80s. And I remember that's where I got my boombox, but they had a whole aisle of them, and you would just walk in there and like light from Jesus would shine down on that aisle. And you would just look at all the speakers and the EQ that you could go up and down and adjust and all that. It was amazing.
It was amazing. It was best, right?
It was, yes, it was best.
Yeah, I remember that. Totally, but it wasn't Best Buy. It was best. It was like, and they had the small B and it went big.
Yep, it really was.
Remember that place, totally, bro.
100%, dude. Stockton, what's up? So that kind of leads us into like, Brad, and with what you're doing, and you're associated with a company called Bumpboxx. I remember hearing about Bumpboxx years ago. I remember seeing like almost like a napkin drawing of the first Bumpboxx. And I was like, I remember telling my buddy, like, I would absolutely buy that. He's like, dude, check this out. And I was like, dude, yes, make that happen, please. For whatever you have to do, make that happen. And then, I probably maybe not even a year. It doesn't feel like a year, but it was like, hey, man, I'd ask him like, hey, dude, what's up with that giant boombox? He's like, dude, I'm going over checking production in China. And I'd see him in like on the social media checking it out. And I'm like, dude, this is happening. This is real. And then I remember hitting him up because I would do trade shows for work. And, like there's no better way to get attention at a trade show than a giant boombox. Like you can see one behind Craig right now, one of the bigger ones. And imagine that even bigger. The first what was the first one called? Freestyle?
Freestyle.
I got the Freestyle. And just 2 10-inch woofers, man. And you cannot carry that through a convention center with a wrap on it and not have people follow you to go like, well, dude, what is that? People want to take pictures with it. People want to put it up on their shoulders. It was just insane. And the first time you turn it on, like you get goosebumps because you're like, dude, this is what I've been waiting for. And then now you fast forward, just a short couple, maybe a year or two, and you guys have a whole line of Bumpboxxes. Like, tell me about what is Bumpboxx and what is it that you offer?
Okay, so we make a Bluetooth speaker. I'm the director of sales. I set up the dealers and the distributors. We're a small little company out of Stockton, but we're a huge company. It organically grew really fast. People purchase it, and like you said, they like to take a picture with it on their shoulders, dance with it, literally pose with it and take pictures and post them. And so organically it started to go, and big name celebrities jumped on board. To tell a funny story, Bumpboxx was a joke. it was a couple dudes that went to Costa Rica, and they had a little Bluetooth speaker, knocked it over, and they're like, man, remember when boom boxes were like the size of that table? And they were having fun, laughing about it. They took the shoelaces out of the shoes and kind of traced it. And one of them had a connection, and they had like 20 made. And then it was fun. It was a joke. They were just remembering the old times like we just were. And a rapper named E40 saw it and posted it, and the rest is history. We blew up. We're real selective on who we work with. I was just moved here, or relocated to Stockton, to the headquarters. I was in the East Coast. I grew up in the Midwest. And I ended up meeting Damon, and I do like cell phone stores, car audio places. I look for different vertical markets. My whole life, I've been in extreme sports, skateboarding, snowboarding, BMX. I have a little 20-inch. I still race. I'm a weekend guy. I'm old. I'm 47. I like to buy retail because I feel like I'm supporting the brand. And as a grown-up now, I like to give back that way. And so I have my favorite brands and companies that I've always liked since the 80s. PK Ripper in the 80s was the man. That was it. I mean, JT Racing in the 80s, like Hutch. I mean, that was it, man. And I'm a 47-year-old kid. I have teenagers that are actually, probably a little bit more responsible and grown up than I am. I just enjoy it. I don't play golf. I like to ride my bike, just like everybody else does. And I came to Damon's place. It wasn't even that long ago, but to meet somebody else, a friend of a friend, and who happened to be hanging out there. And I was with Glenn, who's the COO of Bumpboxx. And we pulled up. I'll never forget it. Either will he. And I was like, oh, man, because I saw the bus. I'm a Midwest kid and the East Coast. And, a lot of people in the West Coast, I try to remind these guys all the time, you guys don't realize you start cool. My wife and my family went to Santa Cruz, and I got the chills, man. I had every BMX Plus. I had all the, Thrasher magazines. Like, that was it. This is home base for, like, skateboarding, surfing. Like, this is it, man. And I still get excited at 47 years old. But so anyway, I meet Damon, and I knew who Damon was because I'm an SE customer and a weekend racer. And I had recognized the bus and the dreads, and I was like giddy, like, oh my God, I'm a little kid, like, holy crap, that's him. It was like, social media, you saw the guy, there's the cool guy with the bus and the dreads. Holy shit, he's standing on his handlebars. Like, it was cool. And then there he is right there. And then I walked in his shop, and being an SC guy as a kid, my whole life, before the internet, we used to have to wait for the magazine and save your money and have your mom send in a check. And you got it like 6 months later. And, to walk into his place and see a lineup of his collection blew my mind. And I was like, oh man, this is cool. And I just was, drawn to it right away. And then to watch what he was about really was cool, because as we're all older now, we know what, there's a lot of punk kids, if you will, disrespectful kids. And for him to have the group of kids that he has with him that borrow a tool and put it back, sometimes I have a hard time putting my tools back, and I start yelling at everybody else, even though I did it. These kids take an Allen or whatever, adjust their bike, and they put it right back. And I noticed that. And I noticed the way they interacted with each other. And then I thought about my job, and we developed a backpack Bumpboxx for people that did festivals, the outdoorsmen, someone that wanted to bring a loudspeaker with them. And then the light bulb went off, and I started, following Damon, and I was like, man, I'm a racer, so I didn't know about this wheelie crew game. I show up on the weekend with my stuff. I do a couple practice rounds, and just ride the track. And I, have a life. I don't have a lot of time for that. It's fun, but I have to work. I have family and stuff. So anyway, I met Damon and started watching the wheelie crew. Then I was like, wait a minute, and the light bulb went off. And this is the missing piece. Music, and what has happened in the last month is one of the coolest things I've ever been a part of. And that is taking a group of guys who are high caliber in the game, and then them all interacting. There was no ego. There was no chest pump. They all like blended together. And it gives me chills to talk about it, because watching me be a part of them getting together and bringing it to, music, bringing them together, it's like meant to happen. And to watch it organically go, and it's really cool. So I met him. I'm like, hey, dude, we got this backpack, check it out. And, I just wanted to see what he thought about it. Like, hey, BMX is cool. These wheelie crews are pretty cool. These little speakers I see on these Instagram live feeds, I mean, this thing's got some bump to it. And you link them together. And as a kid, I go back like to my 14-year-old life, and like, I would have loved that, man, with my friend playing the same tunes, like, it's cool. Music is fun. It brings people together. It's about laughing and, having fun. That's what it's about. And so I found Damon and kind of tested the waters, and it just took off. And this is a whole new vertical market for our company, but it's something I'm passionate about. So when I work now, I'm not working, man. I would do this even if they didn't pay me, just for the love of the game. I love SE. I love JT. Just today, I talked to JT on the phone, and they said, you know what? We're all in. Team Bumpboxx, we're in. And I explained to them, like, we need to get this back to the 80s. Like when it was at its high, man. It was, that was a good time. Kids they weren't in front of a tablet. They weren't playing video games. They were outside, getting the sun, vitamin D, exercising. That's what kids need. And to be part of it and bring music element to something that doesn't exist in BMX, and it never has. I've been in it my whole life, and there's never been, a music piece to it, I guess. And to have it, throw a backpack together and have all of you guys kind of gravitate to it and say, hey, man, you're right, this is cool. And I think people are going to like it. And Damon's, and then so I started to think, like, I need to put a team together. Like, I can take the best of the best, take down the boundaries. We have all different guys. We have SC guys, throne guys. I mean, all different from all over the country, and bring them together with one team. We win. We got the best team in the game. They're smiling. They're interacting. They're going to make it's cool. It's fun. I'm really excited. Damon's going to be the manager. We've handpicked these guys. We've done all of our homework. It's not a fluke that this team is put together. It's hours and hours and hours and hours of going through the social media, making sure that it aligns with what the image that we're about. When I do something for Bumpboxx, I have to think about the people that, work in the warehouse, the customer service, the executives, the partners, that their name is on my back, and I have to make sure I represent it properly. And finding Damon doing the right thing for kids and aligning, up with him is a blessing. And it's fun. It's cool. And we're really excited about it. And yeah, it's cool.
I'm excited about it too, man. I got to tell you, like, just when there was starting to be rumbles of like a team Bumpboxx BMX, I got excited about it because it just meant like legitimacy for, my friends that I see riding and putting in work. And, because before this, like, looking at like sponsorship stuff, like it was like, there wasn't anybody that was really promoting bike life outside of like SE and Throne, Broke Boys, like the bicycle owned, like the big bicycle companies, and then the rider owned companies. But seeing an outside company come in and say, like, you know what, hey, we're going to stand behind you, and we are going to help promote this as well. We're going to pump some energy into this, sponsor kids. To me, I thought that was absolutely phenomenal, because bike life, it's definitely organized. It's still growing, and it's in its infancy right now. But what you're seeing is what I saw in the 80s with BMX, and specifically with freestyle, where you had these brands come in and start to foster this. And so I'm seeing it happen again in 2020. And so I'm excited about it. And just having Damon, as a team manager to manage, like, okay, hey, who are we going to sponsor? Who are we going to align ourselves with? That's pretty incredible.
As soon as I put it on my back, it wasn't about Bumpboxx. It was about me and my music with me. And I got the Bumpboxx about 10 o'clock in the morning. And my wife, it was right in the middle of the virus. And my wife said, I want to go to the store around noon. I heard if we go to the store at around lunchtime, the stores are real empty. I said, all right, well, let's go. So I was silly, and I just took my Bumpboxx with me. I brought it in the car, and I was already rocking out. I just got it. I haven't even charged it yet. I got my Bumpboxx with me, and we go to the store, and we always take our own. Obviously, everybody takes their own little bags now, right? And we didn't have a bag, and I was like, we'll just put everything in the backpack. And she's like, you can't bring it in the store. I'm like, okay. So I put the backpack on, and I left it on. I played music the whole time we were in the store. I wasn't ridiculous. I never turned it up. I wasn't showing off, but I had 10 people ask me about it in the store. And then when I was all done paying and everything, I took my backpack off and set it on the counter. And the chick looked at me kind of funny, right? But I took all 6 of my bags and stuffed it in the top of the Bumpboxx bag. Put the clip back on, threw the backpack on my back, and she's all, that is a cool shopping cart. I was all right. And I just turned around and walked out the store, and my wife looked at me like, wow, that you're not gonna put that thing down. I'm like, nope.
I like what you said, Damon. You were talking about almost like, it's a part of you. It's a way you can express yourself. You take your music with you, whether you're taking it to the skate park, on a ride out to the grocery store, you're able to take that part of you and strap it on your back and throw some tunes out there, whether it's at level blast your ears off or just down enough to kind of keep the vibe going. It really just is a part of you. And I like that feeling, because on the ride outs, dude, whether it be you or other guys or, whoever's got that on their back, when you ride up to them, you kind of get a sense of what their vibe is at the moment, where they're at, just by hearing the tunes that are coming out of the radio, right? Yeah. It's such a perfect fit, dude. It's been around for decades. We're talking, earlier about it in the 80s. And here we are talking about putting one on our back and getting on our bikes. It's the same concept, but now the technology's changed. We can create whatever music we want, select whatever music we want, and it just speaks to who we are. And the story you just told about going in the store, dude, that's sick, man. Now I want to go do that. But it just makes sense. I want to get back to the comment you mentioned earlier. You were talking about, and you just announced some of the guys from the Bumpboxx team, and being able to have all different types of riders, from either skateboards or one-wheel hoverboard type guys to BMX dudes. What does that, as a group, as a team, and you mentioned a little bit, are you looking to do some showcase stuff at ride outs? Are you looking to show up at events like fairs or, parking lot demos? How does this pan out? What do you see this going through as an evolution to, for the members of this team, and how does that look?
So essentially, like we had previously mentioned, Brad had mentioned that what we have is a large, diverse crew. And that being said, we are trying to keep it very diverse, and we want to keep everybody doing what they do. And at one point, our plan is to, yes, showcase everybody at their highest ability, and not only showcase them through social media, but through events. Like we had been talking about before previously about the old school back in the day, pulling up to a regular old parking lot and having a little demo, pulling up and see a huge Vision Streetwear quarter pipe and you know what I mean? Pulling up into that parking lot and seeing that is really where we want to take it back to. And what we're looking for is a large group of exhibitionists that can do different things. And I don't want to focus on a kid that can do a wheelie, because nowadays wheelies are really pretty much commonly done by everybody. So I'm personally, what I'm looking for is somebody that has a bicycle ability that's special. And I don't care what they got, like I was saying about having other people on the team, I'm looking for some downhill unicycle. I've been going through some downhill unicycle guys, checking out their profiles, checking out their images, seeing what they're about. I've been watching some freestyle unicycle guys online that are like skate park unicycle guys. And I'd really like to get one or two of these dudes on board. And I would like to put everybody together at a ride out for the first year or so to see how everybody works with each other, see how the vibe is, and see where we can go with it. And I definitely want to grow. We have a ridiculously cool business behind us that just so happens to have a bicycle enthusiast involved in the business. And he has been overextending his welcomeness to the bicycle community. And at this point, we would be foolish to not run with it and make the best out of it. And like he had mentioned, the ability of having everybody come together. I mean, there are people already working together that haven't ever worked together. And for me, like, I'm not trying to be a bitch, but it makes me emotional. Like, for real, bro. Like,
No, I totally hear you, man. And Damon's sentiment is, I know you're feeling it, Isaac. I'm going to say this from that one little sentence or phrase, paragraph that you just said, whatever you want to call it, about getting guys together. And if it ends up being like a demo or just like a gathering of just guys doing their thing so people could come watch, that hyped me up so much that you said that, dude. Because Isaac, if I'm wrong, tell me right now. When you were a kid and whatever team was coming to town to your local bike shop with their foldable ramps doing a demo, you couldn't sleep the night before. It was like, are you kidding? The GT freestyle demo team's coming. Oh, the Haro team's coming to town. It was like the gods had ascended into your community. And as a child, it was just, it was I was so awestruck, and it only happened a couple times for me, but you couldn't, you were just in the moment, dude. And it was such an event, right, Isaac?
There was nothing. So I remember you would get that summer edition of Freestyling and BMX Plus. You would see the tour announcement and you just quickly look at your shops. Okay, and I remember being a kid, man, and not even knowing where a lot of these cities were. Like, man, I remember CW was like, they're gonna be in Chico. And I'm like, man, I had like 5 months to prepare for like Diz Hicks and Seppi Mays. You know what I mean? Like, okay, how are we gonna get there? Like, I mean, we were planning it months in advance. And then, like you said, dude, like you'd see, like, I remember bugging my local shop. Like, there was a shop called Hobson's. It's Hobson's Cyclery. And we were like, what do we got to do to get you to bring the Haro team out here? Like, what do we have to do to get this? Like, it was like a badge of honor for your shop to get somebody because it was your local shop. And then I remember thinking, like, okay, the night before, like, I mean, the week before, you're talking with your buddies. You're like, man, I'm gonna have Ron Wilkerson sign this shirt, and I'm gonna get like this sticker, and like I knew this where I was gonna put the sticker on my bike. You know, it was like real like that. And then
Yeah.
The other thing too, like, and I don't know that you guys realize it because you're sitting there, but what you're describing, Damon, is something that a lot of us old timers, like, you'll remember this too, Craig. Growing up, there was just a stunt team. It wasn't a bicycle freestyle stunt team. It was a stunt team put together by Gail Webb and a couple of unknown riders named Eddie Fiola, another unknown rider named Martin Aparicio. And you had, who was this? They had a couple skaters too. I think they had, who was the skate? They had skaters too. Do you remember who was on the Gail Webb? I might have to Google it.
I don't remember what skaters they had.
We can look that
But
up.
they had skateboarders. So they had skaters. I was a BMX guy, man. So I remember the freestyle guys. But I remember they had like almost like it wasn't a circus team, but it was like they would go out to circuses. They would go out to motocross events. They would go out to tractor pulls. They would go out to all these random events and introduce bikes and skateboarding to, like, they go to malls and they would do mall tours. And it was just absolutely phenomenal to see that. And, you know, those guys now are all in the BMX Hall of Fame. And now I'm sitting here watching Damon and Brad sit in a Sprinter van with a bicycle stuffed in the back. And I can't help but think about Scott and Stu sitting in the back of a bus getting ready to do something absolutely phenomenal with the world. And you guys are sitting there right now. And like, I'm with you, Damon. It's a little bit emotional because you're like, they were in a bus and they were talking about what they're going to do with SE Racing. And you guys are in a Sprinter van talking about what you're going to do with your team. And it's it's a bookmark in our sport right now to hear.
It's
like
a legacy, dude. It's a straight up moment of legacy that you don't understand or can't really quantify unless you're looking back at it from a moment in time that's further ahead. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
because
yeah,
you could
so
have
now
asked.
I'm emotional. Thanks, Isaac.
Yeah, because you got to think, man. If you would have asked Stu Thompson, like, "Hey, is this going to work?" I've seen interviews, and that guy's like, "This is never going to work." If you've watched a documentary called Joe Kidd on a Stingray, you hear them talk about, like, man, I can't believe they even, like, my mom let me on that bus, and like you had to pay like a little bit of money to get on the bus, and then the bus broke down.
Imagine being on the bottom bunk in the van afterwards.
Yeah. But that's where you guys are right now. Like, it's pretty like, we can look back now and go, look what those guys did. But we have the pleasure of being able to look back at our history, and you are sitting there forging ahead, making history. So thank you on behalf of everyone that rides a bike, for what you're about to do. If you accomplish just a sliver of what you've set out to do, it's pretty phenomenal. You have a task ahead of you, and I'm excited. Craig's excited. We're excited to be a part of it. I'm more excited to see what everybody else on this team does, having that unity, seeing someone like Jacob riding with D-Blocks is pretty, and those guys pushing each other to just like, this is what I can do. Like, no one's done that. And that's pretty amazing to see someone like
little Ryan, the little kid, he's 14, super rad, riding with these kids. And the whole circle is really rad. I mean, it's cool, man. I'm trying to elevate this whole thing. You've seen the team, they're the best of the best, and they're going to be taken care of like that. And I'm going to raise the bar for sponsorship. It's powerful. And I've talked to a lot of people that I try to, to do an ad, to do social media ads, to do billboards, that's expensive. But
Yeah.
what's really more powerful is to take a little Grom who's got skills and a good attitude and give them a t-shirt and stickers. I know, because we all lived it. We know how powerful that is. And to put a team together is so fun. I don't work a day anymore. This is just, the fact that I do this for a job is crazy. But it's fun.
And it's fun. And, I think on a higher level too, it's just so dope to see companies like Bumpboxx seeing the value of investing their time and resources into the BMX world. Okay. And it's a good feeling, because as you do that, as JT Racing does that, as other companies see what you're doing as a leader in this, Bumpboxx and JT and others, more are going to follow. It gives the opportunity to a lot of folks in this BMX world and bike life world to elevate themselves and be able to give a return on that investment back to those companies, because there is value here. It's fun and it's an exciting thing to be a part of. And if you're not doing it for the fun, you may be, veering off what I think is what it's all about. But having Bumpboxx, having those folks that put their company's reputation and their branding on what we're doing with BMX, that to me means and says so much about what we're doing on these bikes and the companies that we are associated with. So I'm stoked. I'm super stoked to be a part of this team. I know Isaac is too, and everybody else has just really had a moment of just pure radness. I hate to say it like that, sounds cliche, but it's super cool, man. Right? I mean, Damon,
I must say, if you don't mind me saying that, one of the first persons I met in the industry was actually Todd Lyons, and it was weird how I met him. They had said that they were going to be giving out some stickers, and the first 50 people there got free stickers. So I told my wife, I'm like, if we're going to go all the way to LA for a ride, we're going to show up early. not only do I drive a a 50-year-old vehicle, but on top of that, I need to be there early so I can get stickers, you know? So we took off really early in the morning. We got down to LA probably about 4 hours early for the ride, which was great. I was super stoked that we were down there. We're down there in Hollywood, and it was one of the first visits that D-Blox had made out into California. And I looked across the street, catty corner from me, and it was still probably about 2 hours into the ride, 2 hours still before the ride was about to start. And I looked over catty corner and I saw Todd and D-Blox and a couple photo guys. And I was like, I looked at my wife. She looked at me like, damn, that's Todd Lyons, you know? So we just went over there and started talking to him. And then one thing led to another. We went on this huge ride. There was hundreds of people there. And the next day he gave me like a little invite to come out to Huntington to go down there and ride with them at the pier. And I went down there and rode around with them and spent the day with them. And we made some videos and did some stuff together. And I felt like we had made a connection that day. And I just want to let everybody know clearly in the world, like, I wouldn't be where I'm at today without that day reflecting on me. So I always like put a special thanks out to Todd. I want to put a huge special thanks out to Bumpboxx for allowing me the ability to come through and make this happen for all of the entire BMX community, that might be said. And like I said, furthermore, anything in an advanced sport area that's wheel related, we're totally interested in, and the movement, the people that are around them. I'm really grateful to be able to get the Cycle Squad Maniacs, the Throne team, the you know, all these people that are really big name hitters in the industry. It was a dream to me to see these people perform together, and we're getting to the level to where we're actually going to be able to do that. And I feel like we got enough cool people on the team that it would be impossible to mess us up now. And I'm like, so I wanted to reflect back to what Isaac said on something. Isaac said that lightweight, we remind him of like Stu and Perry or whatever, whoever it was. He said, you know, sitting in the van, or Scott or whatever, you know, like, and there's so much going on with SE right now that's so, like, there's a lot of stuff that's like top secret that clearly I have no right to talk about or should even know about. But we got the SE school bus coming up. We got Bumpboxx coming up. We got the Bumpboxx team coming up. We're working direct with Broke Boys, SE Bikes, Throne Bikes. We're working with the Dyno guys. We're working with JT. We're working with, who's next? I mean, the door is not open for anything other than powerful people. I mean, we're ready to move forward and make the next thing happen. And I just want to say special thanks to everybody involved. A lot of people have gotten me where I'm at today, and they all know who they are. I want to say thank you very much. Like, real talk.
Absolutely, brother. Well, I'm excited. I mean, we're at our time. Damon, thanks for coming out. Thanks for being who you are. Again, I personally, even though we haven't met face to face, we will at some point, and expect a big weird hug from a brother that's never met you. But I'm eternally grateful for what you've done, especially for where I grew up and my original scene, and giving kids something to do out there. I cannot stress that enough, because it was such a weird place when I was growing up in the 80s. It was just a lot of violence. It was a lot of negativity, and that is 180 degrees turned around. And you're kind of the Pied Piper of bikes there. Everyone knows you're the king of SE bikes. And I don't think there's a whole lot of people that were more excited than Craig and I, maybe other than your wife, when you got sponsored, and Todd. I think Todd was probably the most stoked out of all of us. But when you got sponsored, man, it was like the sponsorship that was heard around the world when they announced you. And so, you know, congratulations, hats off to you.
Thank you very much.
You know,
thank you.
Craig and Brad, before I move on to this, Brad, thank you for giving BMX a shot and giving, voice to these riders at all skill levels. It could have been easy just to come in and say, I'm going to take these 5 or 10 guys that are the most well-known. But you didn't. You went with people that you believe in and that love the sport. And that's incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm just going to echo that too, Isaac. Thank you to Damon and Brad for being here today. But one of the things I just really want to talk about again is about the relationships that we create, whether it be between us as riders or wheeled sports dudes on a skateboard, whatever it is. Having the relationships, the bonds be started out by companies like yours, Brad, with Bumpboxx. It's just a good feeling to have. It feels like the right thing to do, and we appreciate that.
Craig, you know what's a trip?
Yeah. What's a trip, homie?
So if you really think about it, like what an amazing time to be in this bike, the big bike BMX, the big BMX world, in this scene right now. Because you and I met just, this year. We started doing this podcast, this episode thing. And, we talked to Lewin Fraser, who runs JT Racing. And Lewin comes on our show and says, I am in it. I am 100% committed to bike life. And then, Brad comes along and Bumpboxx, and they're like, I am 100% into it. And look, we're big fans of JT Racing. Love JT Racing. I've been drooling over JT since I was 14. And then to hear Brad say, hey, yeah, right. All of us. And then to hear Brad say, hey, we're partnering with JT Racing to do this big bike life thing. It's just it's a special thing to see and to see it play out and see like these two brands that are definitely, committed to a sport that has brought us so much joy and brought so many people so much joy. It's phenomenal. Did you tie that together? It just dawned on me.
Well, one of the things that I keep hearing, and comes from Brad in his the way he talks, it comes from Damon, it comes from JT, yourself, me, is passion. There's a passion here. It's the common thread between all of us. It's just being so involved 100% and having a passion for this sport. You and I, Isaac, and I'm sure Damon too, and yourself, Brad, here in this interview, we've been around since the 80s, involved with bikes. It's something we've seen. Freestyle come and go. Racing, I won't say that's come and gone. I'm not saying freestyle is gone either, but we've just seen like the major eras
of it.
The evolution, right? And here we are again. Here we are again in 2020, looking at this new facet of BMX.
Now we're the grown-ups.
We're the grown-ups now, exactly. But, dude, are we not watching this evolve again? Just in a different shape and form on the same bike, but on a bigger frame. It's still BMX.
It's a trip, dude. It's a trip because, like, I tell people this all the time. Like, I'm 47, Brad. I'm 47 too, and so like I'm not trying to be famous. I want people that are listening to this podcast to be famous. Like, you have this whole thing ahead of you. I always like if you look at Big Bike BMX on Instagram, I'll show pictures of, like, say Tucker or Rickard, and I'll always caption, you will talk about this man when you're my age. You will look at these gentlemen. You'll look at Damon Dayton the way I look at R.L. Osborne or Eddie Fiola when you're my age. When that 15, 16-year-old kid looks back, they're going to tell legendary stories of Damon Dayton, the way that we talk about Stu and Perry and these guys.
Dude, and we've talked about it, Damon and Brad, and if you've heard it before, but Isaac and I have talked about this. We are riding around and we are associating with the legends of this era and they don't even know it. We don't even know it. Yeah. We may see what we think is going to be, someone who's going to be notable in 10, 15 years, but we're riding around with the legends. This is setting the precedents, and we're establishing the history of big bike BMX right now, to where 10 years from now, 20 years from now, when these 15-year-old kids are now 35, 40 years old, they're going to be like, I used to ride with so-and-so. Oh yeah, I knew Damon. I rode with him with the Port City Wheelie Crew. He's a legend, and well, Damon, you're already a legend, but it's just like Isaac said, man, it's truly a new era, a new time, and the passion and the love for the sport is just, it's got so much more room to grow. And to have you, Brad, and others be a part of it and see that value in it, man, I am hyped. I'm stoked to see where it goes. And I know Isaac is too.
Yep. It's all right. Thank you guys for coming out. Brad, thank your wife and your family for letting us have you for the night. Damon, thank you to you and your family for coming out. Make sure you get that back to your wife. Thanks for letting us borrow you tonight for this podcast. If you want to follow Bumpboxx, it's hop on Instagram right now and go at Bumpboxx, Bumpboxx. That's the official main channel. But if you want to see what's going on and what we're talking about, Damon, why don't you be the one to give out the Instagram? I think it's only fitting.
So it's Team Bumpboxx BMX.
Team Bumpboxx BMX at TEAMBUMPBOXX BMX on Instagram. Follow them. You'll see all the team riders up there. You'll see everyone we're talking about from DZ to Jacob to Rickard to and D Blocks and Lars Young. If you love them now, you'll see them on that Bumpboxx, the Team Bumpboxx BMX Instagram. So thank you both for coming out, Brad, Damon, Craig, you as well, man. Thank your wife for letting us have you for the night. And, we look forward to seeing more of this and seeing, we're just now scratching the surface of what this is going to be. And thanks for coming on our show to announce it and let us know about it. We appreciate it. So,
dude, and thanks to your family, Isaac, again, for letting you be a part of this and having this awesome show, so we can showcase these folks that are doing good things in BMX. Just as another reminder that I do at the end of every show, if you've liked this show and you want to hear more of what we have going on at Big Bike BMX, make sure you like and subscribe. Please subscribe to our show. Just click that little button right there on the channel and don't miss an episode. What we have coming up is going to continue to be awesome, and you're going to love what Isaac and I have planned. So we don't want you to miss out on any of that. So thank you to everyone for showing up. Thank you for everyone that listens and checks out the podcast. We are streaming our show on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, so you don't miss a minute of it. Whether you're riding on that BMX or you're cruising in your car, you've got it available. And let's take it out, Isaac.
all right. And just one last thing for if you've stuck through all of this, this is what I'm most excited about. You've stuck through all of this. You've listened to all of this. You've made it to the end of the podcast. We have something super special for you. You're listening to this now because this is going to air. We're going to have the live chat going on YouTube. So right now, as this is wrapping up, I need you to go over and look at and just open up your Instagram and start looking for 80s BMX Craig, 80s_BMX_Craig. He's going to be going live. You're going to go live as soon as we wrap this up. Hop off chat, go live. You and I are going to have a quick little conversation. We're going to talk about what we just talked about. We're going to talk about what's going on in the live chat. And then Damon and Brad, what do you have in store for everybody that listened to the episode tonight?
We basically have a fitted backpack ready to go
with a Bumpboxx.
Yeah.
The Bumpboxx backpack combo.
That is incredible. So just for hanging out, listen to this, go on Instagram right now. Craig's going live. Then you're going to see Damon and Brad go live, and they're going to give away to one lucky listener a Bumpboxx, just like you see here, the Bumpboxx Ultra with the backpack that you see Damon wearing, that you see Craig wearing, and that you're going to want to ride on that Santa Cruz ride out with the whole team when they come out. So you can have one of these just by listening and tuning in. So head over to Instagram right now, friends, jump on, and we're going to give away one of these Bumpboxxes and the backpack combo, which is a huge, huge gift to everybody that's listening. And thank you guys for doing that and being part of our show tonight.
Shout out to Bumpboxx.
Thanks, yo.
All right. We'll see you guys there. Jump on Instagram. What? Whoop, whoop.
Later.
Ba, ba, da, ba.
Wah, 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 wah.